good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very pleased this morning to be joined by the head of the World Food Program in Haiti, Jean-Martin Bauer, who is joining us from Cap-Haitien, but I will let you tell you all about it. And he will talk, as you know, we've been trying to bring every day some humanitarian updates about the situation in Haiti. And this morning, he will talk to you specifically, as you can imagine, about WFP's operation there. So go ahead, Jean-Martin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to take a few minutes to brief you on the humanitarian issues in Haiti, how WFP is responding to them, and what support we need. First of all, you all know that Haiti's been a food crisis for some time. It's interesting that there was almost no acute insecurity in Haiti before 2016. 2016 Hurricane Matthew hits. We have 1 million people who are acutely food insecure. We reached 4 million people acutely food insecure in 2020 with the COVID pandemic, and we haven't come back down. Still today, we've got 4 million people in Haiti who are acutely food insecure, 1 million of which are one step away from famine. What's going on over the past few days has me very worried, and I'm ringing the alarm bell because you have this baseline level of hunger that's already very high, and this is worsening things even more. So what we're seeing is an increase in violence. We're seeing an increase in population displacement with 15,000 newly displaced people over the first weekend of March, bringing the total number of displaced people in Haiti to above 360,000. We're also seeing an interruption in the flow of goods. And this has huge impacts on food markets in Port-au-Prince. The main roads to Port-au-Prince are controlled by armed groups. The port was disrupted by armed groups last week and is still not operational. That means food can't come into Port-au-Prince by road or by sea. And of course, air service, flights to Port-au-Prince have been disrupted. They've also been disrupted to the rest of the country. That has me very worried because we know Haiti depends on food imports for 50% of its food supply. And we are seeing, WFP can confirm, that the cost of a food basket in Port-au-Prince is rising. It's also rising elsewhere in Haiti. And this is a huge problem for the population. Surveys that we've done show that household incomes are coming down because people can't go out and work. People are sheltering in place and don't have the income that they need to buy food, to buy what little food is left. So food prices are rising, incomes are lowering, and at the same time, there's also population displacement, aggravating pre-existing vulnerabilities. So that makes me quite concerned. So what are we doing in terms of a response? WFP is still in the country. We have 300 people in Haiti doing everything we possibly can to support the population. I want to give a shout out to my team in Port-au-Prince who are in place, making sure that we're providing hot meals to the displaced population. We have been doing a hot meal service, started at about 2,000 meals per day. We are today at almost 14,000 meals being served every day to the displaced population. We're focusing on those 15,000 that were recently displaced as a result of the violence last week. But we know we need to do more. There are probably more than 100,000 IDPs on site in Port-au-Prince at present. We're also keeping our programs going within Haiti. We have a strong relationship with local farmer organizations to supply the school feeding program. We have decentralized our supply chain. We know how vulnerable supply chains in Haiti are to interruptions that include port blockages or roadblocks. So we're buying straight from farmers who supply local schools. Thanks to this system, yesterday, we were able to feed about 160,000 individual school children. The last thing we've done to get around these access constraints is use mobile money to push out credit to people's phones. And these the people who receive these payments are the poorest of the poor. They're registered with the Social Protection Program. That means that people continue receiving resources in spite of these conditions. So I'd like to close with a call to action with what we need to do our job. And number one is we need security. There have been with this insecurity, it's hampering people from doing very simple things. In Haiti right now, taking your kid to school, going to the supermarket, going to work, all these things are extremely risky. We need security to come back to the country. I need to make sure that you understand that security is important, but it's not a case of guns or butter. We actually also need to focus on feeding the people in Haiti. Now, just a year ago, we had 20,000 people in Cité who were on the brink of famine. We had 20,000 people categorized as IPC5, which is the worst, most severe food security condition. We have malnutrition rates in Port-au-Prince, in some parts of Port-au-Prince that are as high as we see in war zones. So we can't just focus on security, we also need to support the population with humanitarian assistance. The humanitarian programs in Haiti are drastically underfunded. The United Nations Humanitarian Response Plan for Haiti is only 2% funded. That's not a typo. 2% funded today, as I speak to you. We need more resources in order to bring back stability, in order to bring some hope to Haiti. We need, of course, security, but we also need a robust humanitarian response. I'll end there. Back to you for questions, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Let me go first to Edie, then I will go to Maggie. Edie, you have the floor.
Thank you very much on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association for doing this briefing. My name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. Two quick questions. Do you expect the announcement of Ariel Henry's resignation as Prime Minister and the expected formation of a transitional presidential council to make any significant difference in the security situation, which would make your job easier? And secondly, how actually are you getting food into Port-au-Prince if everything appears to be closed and the roads are controlled by the gangs? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you, Edith. So for the first part of the question was about, are we going to see a lull? We need security in order to provide assistance in the country. I'm not great at reading political dynamics in Haiti, but we certainly hope that there will be an improvement in security. It's necessary for us to do our job and to get the assistance to the population. I'd like to answer the second part of your question by saying that we have stocks in Port-au-Prince. We have pre-positioned stocks in this country. Right now, Port-au-Prince is a bubble. There's no in and out, and we cannot, at the present time, bring food into Port-au-Prince. However, we do have a warehouse, and the food in that warehouse is being provided to the displaced population as a matter of priority. We've also done distributions to people in very vulnerable neighborhoods like Cité Soleil. We're able to take trucks of food from that warehouse to our partners. Many of these are local partners, faith-based organizations, civil society organizations, and that's still going on. But it will only last for so long before we need to replenish our stocks. And what we need is the port to reopen to allow our stocks to be replenished and our activities to resume.
Let me go to Maggie.
Hi, Mr. Bauer. Thanks so much for doing this briefing. Could you also just give us an update on the other areas in Haiti that are having food insecurity? Because I know the capital is the epicenter, but there's other parts of the island that are suffering a lot too. So could you give us a little update on that and how you're able to assist them or not able to assist them?
Thank you, Maggie. So this is really important. There will be an update of the IPC. This is the system we use to measure food insecurity in places like Haiti. The government is working on it right now, so keep an eye out for an updated IPC in the next few weeks. But what I can say about areas outside Port-au-Prince is that they're not as affected by the violence. Here in Cap-Haitien, kids are going to school. You can tell there have been demonstrations. I mean, there have been issues here. The airport's closed, for instance, but children are going to school, and we are able to bring food to them. The stocks you see behind me are moving. They're getting to the children in the schools. And as I said yesterday, we were able to provide a school meal to 160,000 individual Haitian school children in places like the north of Haiti, like the Department of Nip in the south, and other areas of relative calm. Now, the fact that there's no fighting between gangs in some of these areas doesn't mean that they're spared, because Port-au-Prince happens to be the nerve center of Haiti. There are things in Port-au-Prince that aren't getting out. For example, fuel or cash. The economy in these rural areas depends on links to Port-au-Prince. So all that's been quite disrupted right now, and we really need things to get back to normal as soon as possible.
Actually, could I just give you one quick follow-up on that? You said cash is not getting out. So are you doing cash or food baskets or a combination of assistance?
So what we do in Haiti is both. Our program is heavy on cash. Overall, it's 2/3 cash, 1/3 food. And we purchase as much of the food as possible here locally in the country. It's really important for us to do that for many reasons. Now when we do cash in the Grandance department in the south, for example, it's 60% digital. It's money that hits people's telephones. They will then turn that into cash if they want, or spend the money directly with a retailer that accepts mobile money payments.
Very good. So Bloomberg, then Al Jazeera.
Thank you so much for this update. Augusta Saraiva with Bloomberg News. So I have a couple of questions, actually. I wanted to go back to your point about the importance of having a decentralized supply chain. You did mention that 50% of the food supply comes from food imports. So I just wanted to ask you, considering all of the trade disruptions, what's your outlook for that side of the equation? And then as a second question, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about safety when it comes to your personnel. You mentioned 300 people, not all in the capital, but in terms of how workers are feeling, what their day-to-day looks like right now, if you could give us an update.
Well, thank you for the question, and I really want to emphasize that my number one priority is the safety and well-being of my staff. There's no going around it, and I know that for them it's been quite difficult to be sheltering in place while still doing work. It probably for them feels a lot like being in COVID. You can't really go out, and you're in touch with your partners. You're doing your work. I know that they all rely on each other quite a bit. There's a very strong team spirit in a team like WFP Haiti. We're together all the time. But I do know that the last 2 weeks have been quite hard. And again, we're hoping that that there's a lull and that things might get back to normal. But it's definitely been quite a challenge for them. I know that they're doing it all. They're spending late nights working to provide assistance to the population, and I really admire their dedication and the results they've been able to achieve. So again, thumbs up to the team for WFP Haiti in Port-au-Prince and everywhere else. Now you were asking about the supply chain in Haiti. It's quite oriented to imports, and especially for Port-au-Prince. The port is the lung of the economy. That's now been quite disrupted. Now, what WFP's been doing for the past few years is buying more locally, because we don't want to be in a situation where the food is stuck at the port and some gang member blocks the port and blocks the assistance for the population. So the stack of food you see right here to my right, that's a local sorghum. It's 95 tons of petit mil. It's a local sorghum grown right here in Haiti. We took delivery just a few days ago. And guess what? We didn't have any problems with a port being blocked or a road being blocked, because it's purchased not far from here. This is a better way of doing business because it's less vulnerable to a single point of failure. And we're able to distribute these commodities to the Haitian children. Now, where I'm really worried is if the situation in Port-au-Prince lasts longer, you've got that effect that I was describing, is that you'll have food prices will rise as food stocks dwindle in Port-au-Prince at the same time as people have a very hard time earning an income. And that's the recipe for a food crisis that's even worse than the one we're experiencing now.
Gabriel.
Hello, Mr. Bauer. My name is Gabriel Elizondo from Al Jazeera English. Thank you for the informative briefing. A couple questions. Can you give us any idea on how much food prices have risen this year or in recent days and or weeks, some sort of example? And number two, any update on the border with the Dominican Republic? I know it's often complicated there, but are you getting any sort of assistance in terms of being able to get anything in through the border? And lastly, your thoughts on the multinational security support mission that we think will be coming to Haiti at some point. How do you see your work interacting with them in terms of buffering security? Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro. I would start with the question on food prices. So there was an immediate increase in food prices in January of this year. Maybe you might remember, if you've been covering Haiti, that there were disturbances at that point in time. And in January, we had food prices jump 25% in the South. I want to be specific that was in the South. That was already a big issue. Roadblocks came up, and trucks weren't able to come with order prints with basic necessities, and that caused also our scarcity of propane, and which is the main fuel. In recent days, what's happened has caused at least a 10% increase in food prices, in the price of a food basket, in Port-au-Prince. That's the most recent estimate we have. The same food basket is also increasing outside Port-au-Prince because, again, the trade has been so disrupted. So that's what's happened in just a few days, a 10% increase in the price of the food basket. Now, in terms of our relationship with a potential security mission, what we recognize that security is one of the major aspirations of the Haitian people. Going to church on Sundays is difficult because people run risk of having unpleasant encounters with men at arms, taking your kids to school, driving to work. All these things are complicated in Haiti, so there needs to be security. What I've been emphasizing is that boots on the ground alone won't solve this problem. We need security, but we also need, at the same time, robust humanitarian support. We know that mass hunger is related to unrest, to strife, to mass migration, and if we don't have a strong food support for the population, we won't. The MSS won't be able to achieve its objectives alone. And again, the underfunded nature of the humanitarian response plan, according to the Secretary General, is a tragedy in itself. So let's work on both. Let's make sure that both of these are active at the same time, and we'll get a better outcome for Haiti, hopefully.
Let me go online. We have Jacqueline Charles from the Miami Herald.
Good morning. Two things. You mentioned propane, and I'm wondering how is the port closure affecting the access to fuel? And can you give us an idea in terms of, how are Haitians coping? With the level of hunger rising, and these, periodic that are happening more than usual with the disruptions. How are they feeding themselves? What are some of the things that you're seeing that they're doing to get through this?
Thank you, Jackie. In terms of the port, it seems that some commodities, some trucks were able to leave yesterday, and hopefully that would lead to less pressure on energy prices in the capital, elsewhere in the country. The coping strategies we're seeing have me quite worried, because what people are doing right now are doing things like cutting down on meals. People are eating lower quality foods. And we know, again, that malnutrition rates in Port-au-Prince were quite high. In some parts of Port-au-Prince were quite high before this all happened. Places like Cité Soleil, like Croix des Bouquets, even Delma had very high malnutrition rates. And this will just make this problem worse. There are more than 200,000 children in Haiti who are vulnerable to global acute malnutrition, and that's one of the impacts we're most worried about. What I've also seen in the data we collected is that people are undermining their livelihoods. They're selling their stuff to survive, to eat. In rural areas, people are selling their land. They're selling their breeding stock. So this crisis, this political and security crisis, has turned into a humanitarian crisis, but it's also a livelihood crisis.
Do we have more questions in the room? Carrie?
Thanks a lot. Hi, bonjour Monsieur Bauer. Merci pour RFI et Le Monde. Sorry, I'm going to ask it in English. The port has been securized on Monday, no? Hasn't been securized, and can it help to make the assistance come through the sea faster, or it still hasn't resumed yet?
The services of the port aren't functional yet. We're hoping that they will be as soon as possible. And indeed, the port needs to be fully functional, fully operational in order for humanitarian programs in Port-au-Prince to operate. That's one of the basic things that needs to be in place.
Hi, Anani from Al Jazeera English. You mentioned that WFP has reserves in Port-au-Prince, and that's the pre-stationed reserves, and you said that that's what you're using in Port-au-Prince. How long can how much time do you have if the insecurity doesn't change? Like, how long do your reserves last if nothing changes?
Look, we're talking about weeks. So this situation needs to be resolved as soon as possible. And you need to know that, of course, we have food stocks, but when we do a hot meals program, there are a lot of other costs that are involved. And what we need is support from Odron is also to make sure that we're able to buy things like fresh foods, fresh vegetables, and all these things are ingredients of the hot meals we serve, and they're not stored in the warehouse for over the long term. These are things we buy on the open market. So we're already facing some pressure on our response because of the lack of availability of food on local markets. But we have these stocks in place, and they're good for probably a few weeks.
Maggie, and then last question will go to Carrie.
Just to follow up to that, we've heard in Gaza, for instance, Mr. Griffiths has said that aid deliveries are opportunistic, like they just are taking the opportunity when they have it to deliver because of the insecurity. So I'm wondering, are you facing sort of a similar challenge in Haiti where you can only deliver when security allows it? Or how are you managing on that front?
Well, that's absolutely right. We need to be extremely careful. There's a lot of risk involved in bringing hot meals to the population. So before doing distributions, we are in touch with authorities. We have local partners who are quite security conscious, security aware, who have good links with civil society. And when we bring hot meals to the displaced population, we're doing it because we know that that day it's safe, and we know that we're not putting anyone at risk, either beneficiaries or program staff. We have to be very careful with security. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's entirely opportunistic, but we do need to make sure that everything is clear before bringing food down to those areas.
And just a follow-up on Maggie's question, actually, and I think good to wrap up with that, but with the agreements, the transition agreements that has been announced by now former Prime Minister Henry last night, how much do you think it can help you to do your work?
Again, we're hoping for a lull, but you know that the situation in Port-au-Prince has been difficult for quite some time, even before this last 2 weeks. We've had people with weapons in various parts of town, and this is also part of the reality of delivering assistance in Haiti. It's a constant struggle, and we know that that existed in the past, and we have systems to deal with it to make sure that the assistance gets to the population. And what we can hope for right now is a lull, but we know that the lay of the land will remain quite challenging in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Jean-Martin, for joining us this morning. Good luck with the continuation of your work in Haiti, and continue to keep us updated. We try to bring up updates every day. And one of the things that I can mention is on the funding situation. We have been mentioning it on a daily basis, and we will continue to do so. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, et à bientôt.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Merci.